and elevate our thinking and our living and our giving and our hearts and our passion and our purpose. I know, you know what, we could not be as far as long as we are without these two. She is just a dynamic businesswoman, mother, wife. I mean, the list goes on. Tennis player who just, giving them backhands to all them people, making it happen. But she's gorgeous inside and out. That's the dynamic Cheryl Morley. And I'm telling you, this guy who absolutely is, he's my mentor. He inspired the Nightly Dose. We're going on 10 years, April the 1st, 83 books in, because of this gentleman. But, John Maxwell certification, Tony Robbins certification. And I mean, understanding how to tap into our potential to take us to a whole nother level. Give it up for the Elevate champions, Cheryl Morley, and the dynamically awesome Paul Croto. Take it away, guys.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Linda. We're so grateful to be here today for Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Yes. And happy Thanksgiving to you, Linda. We really love you, and we always have you in our prayers as well. I'll call you. We'll chat.
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Cheryl and I, we're different. We're different kind of people. We have different kind of conversations. And we had this conversation where we decided to ask the question, what drives people's decision-making? This is like what goes into, actually studies show that the average person makes 35,000 decisions every single day.
No wonder I'm so tired, Paul.
Yeah, I'm exhausted.
My head's spinning just from the small decisions. Though this migraine I got here. No, really. So, what drives 35,000 decisions a day? Like, what determines how we make these? And as Linda just mentioned before this, we start to hit the record button here. We know that decisions determine our destiny. So it's not our past that determines our destiny, where we land up in life. It's our decisions. It's these little 35,000 decisions every single day during our whole life that end up determining our destiny. But what determines the decisions we make, Cheryl? This is a topic that we dove into. We've been studying it and researching it and getting feedback from people, looking at our own lives, and just came up with the 10 forces that really shape your destiny. So we came up with 10 things that really go into every decision you make, or at least play a role in each decision you make. Cheryl, let's dive right into this because we got a lot to cover in a little bit of time.
Well, first of all, as you guys know, I love to grow. I love personal growth. I love all of that. But just finding out that I make 35,000 decisions every day and I have 64,000 thoughts, and I'm like, no wonder I'm so exhausted by 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Okay. I'm like, that's it. I'm done. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this was so much fun though. And, I've heard this saying, decisions determine your destiny. For most of my life, because that's one of the things that I hear when I go to church. We talk a lot about that and about the decisions that you make really do have everything to do with the way that your life will turn out. And I love the whole idea, you guys. I just have to say really quick before I jump into this, I love the idea that it's the decisions we make today, not the decisions we made 25 years ago, that's going to, it's day by day. But maybe a decision that I made years and years ago doesn't affect today and what's happening today. And I'm so grateful for that. I just have to say. So the 10 things that we wanted to talk about today, we're going to start with number 1. And I'm not sure, Paul, did we put these like, this is more important than this, but we just think that these are that all
kind of sort of, yeah.
We did. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because okay, so the first one, let's just get into it. It is our 6 human needs. Okay, so it's what, and it really, not only is it the 6 human needs, which is growth, contribution, love and connection, significance, variety, and security. So those are the 6. But I think more importantly, it is where we put them, like the order that we put them in. So at number 1, we always say, Paul and I both always say that growth or personal growth is the most important personal need for us. right? And I do think that that's good, because let's say you have security, which that's our last one. That's number 6 for us. But if security is like your first one, when we talk a little bit about that, if security is your very first one and that's all that you think about, you probably don't want to get out of your comfort zone. You probably are just like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. I'm scared to do that. I think that people with security is number 1 too, have fear as something that comes, a lot into their life. And so they think about, oh my gosh, or they're fearful of doing new things, or like even perhaps starting a new business or something like that.
Yeah, it's amazing how this really dictates our decision making. Let's say now 90% of people out there have security as number 1. So they look at, like, let's say our health course. So we own the IWH health certification course, health coach certification course. That's like $750 to join. It's nothing. Or any of these Tony Robbins programs are like $500, or any kind of growth thing out there. You can be buying a book. I don't want to spend that $15 on that book because I'm worried about my security. I'm worried about, saving money and not spending, where it's ridiculous. Like, you have to rearrange these 6 human needs and intentionally put growth at number 1, so that you understand that the more you grow, the more you're going to make. But so many people want to stay in this box because they think the box is secure. So people put security at number 1 and variety at number 2, which is really interesting, because you can just imagine how most people's lives are, driving with 1 foot on the gas and 1 foot on the brake the whole time. Cheryl, something we're going to be really talking about a lot in 2025 is living this life of significance.
Yeah.
And deciding that's one decision to make, that I'm going to go out, and Linda, we love you for what you do on really saying, I'm going to live this life of significance. I'm going to run these calls and really get up every day and look to elevate other people's lives. I mean, you're like the Elevate Your Life champion, as far as living a life of significance and influencing other people, which is what leadership is all about. So this is number 1, Cheryl. Our 6 human needs, the order we put them in and how we meet them, really dictate how we make decisions. What's number 2?
Yeah, I love that. Okay, number 2 is our identity. And I want you guys to think about this when I'm talking about identity. First of all, do you have your 6 human needs put in the order? Have you ever even thought of that? I'd never even thought of that. The first time I heard the 6 human needs, I'm like, yeah, they are what they are. Variety for me is number 1. So I have to really do some things. But I want you guys to think about these as we talk about them, and just kind of consider if you have your 6 human needs in the correct order that you would like them in to live the life that you want. Also, we're going to talk now about identity. So as I'm talking about identity, or as Paul and I are talking about these different things, think about your identity. Like, who are you? And can you tell us, like, if I were to say, hey, Linda, tell me what type of person you are. Could you tell me? And we're going to give you like a little sentence that you can say and kind of so that you can work on this. But the strongest force in the human personality is the need to remain consistent with how we define ourselves. And Paul, when I saw that, I was like, but I've never tried to define myself. I don't know. I'm me. That's what I was saying.
Well, we have this, this whole thing we really lead with. Do you want to live a life by default or by design?
Right.
So many people, including yourself before, live by default. It's just, I don't know how this identity came about, but it came about somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. So something that we want you guys to say is, I am the type of person who blank. So you're going to put whatever word you want in that blank. It's just who I am. So for me, I had to decide, this is just for instance, I had to decide, am I a person that gets up at 5 o'clock, or am I a person that sleeps in till 11:30? Okay. So that's what I had to decide. So now I am the type of person who wakes up at 5 a.m. It's just who I am. So that's the way that you say it. Or forgets to take your supplements, or takes your supplements. I'm just the type of person that takes my supplements every day. And like, sometimes I like to add, it's just who I am. We always add, it's just who I am. But, and then I always add like a little something like, I never miss no matter what, or something, just to remind myself, right, that is the type of person. Another one is, think about how you treat your business. I am the type of person who treats my business as a hobby or treats my business as a profession. So all of these things are identity. And I think it's so important to know and really to decide, which is the great part, because we get to decide our identity. We get to decide who we are. I have so many friends that are like, I could never wake up at 5 o'clock. I would never do that. Oh, I would never work out every day. I would never, and it's just like, well, when did you decide that? When did you decide that that's who you are? Right. And so I love this idea of being able to write these things down so that we know, and then be able to just, and too, when you're in a struggle and when life hits you, you need to have those things written down so that you can read them and remind yourself, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cheryl, I just want to commend you for the amazing job you've done on this one in your own life. I know that we all have people in our past, whether it be our parents or teachers or whoever, or coaches in the past, that kind of portray some sort of identity onto you. And, to realize, hey, wait a second, I can decide what my identity is going to be and who I am. And you've done a great job at that fire and wiring, deciding what it is and rewiring that whole thing, and really becoming just an absolutely amazing person, amazing woman. So just awesome job on that. And it's just the message to everybody that you can change this. You decide what your identity is going to be.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
The next one of my favorites, is the story we focus on. This is my big thing. Change your story, change your life. So we experience the life we focus on. There's a lot going on in your life. You're like, oh, this is my life. If you were telling me, if I ask you a story right now, tell me the story of what's going on in your life, you would be focusing on part of it. You wouldn't be telling me the story of everything going on. There's way more going on in your life than you're focusing on, which is just kind of how our mind works. But a lot of people tend to focus on the negative parts of our life, or things that are bothering us or whatever. And there's all these other great things that are happening, but we're not focusing on that, which is super interesting. But there's 3 stories we can focus on. There's our past story. So if I ask you, tell me about your past, you could tell me this whole story about your past. You could tell me a story about your present, like what's going on right now. And you could tell me this whole story about everything that's going on in your life right now. Or you can tell me the story about your potential, the potential story. And this is the story that Cheryl and I help people write, so that they can live by design and say, no, this is the life I live. And this is the Bible verse that I focus on is live as if your prayers are already answered. It didn't say live like your prayers are coming, or they will be, as if they already have. So we write the story in a way that the story's already happened, and you start living that way. And it's amazing. But if you don't have this potential story written, you can't think about it, because it's not there. It doesn't exist. So I think about now, Cheryl and I help people with all these things. We help people rearrange their 6 human needs, their identity, their story. And we also help people redo their thoughts, Cheryl, which is another thing that plays a role into our decision-making every day.
Oh, help. Okay, so 64,000 thoughts, everybody. That's how many the gals have every single day. 64,000. And if they're not good or positive, that means they're negative. So we have to be so careful about this. But our thoughts come from, it could be like the story that we're focused on. And a lot of our thoughts come from our subconscious mind in pattern form. We don't even know that we have them, or we don't, and it's certainly not if we're not looking at it like that, right? So like the patterns that we're in, a lot of our thoughts come from the people that we're around. They certainly come, and especially for young kids, and I know adults too, but social media, right? The way that you think, the thoughts that you have come from social media, come from TV, come from, oh my gosh, the news. Like, why somebody would watch the news, I don't know, because I don't think there's a lot of positive thoughts on there. But any ads that you see, and we are inundated all the time. Like, people are making us think how they want us to think if we're not aware. That is what marketing is. Okay. That's what marketing is, right? And our thoughts play a major role. I think one of the biggest roles in the decisions that we make every single day are our thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why Cheryl and I, we sit down with people, and we did it first of all with ourselves, and we wrote down, well, if we think 65,000 thoughts a day, why don't we decide up front what those 65,000 thoughts are going to be?
Right.
So I have a list of thoughts that if I go sideways or things, I can see my thoughts not staying on track. I go read this page that I designed, this blueprint that I have of the thoughts that I want to think. And I start thinking those thoughts. So I'm just bringing it back to my conscious mind. So once you do that over and over and over again, you can absolutely change the thoughts you're thinking. Number 5, halfway through here, our beliefs play a major role in our decision making. Of course, it's pretty obvious, but Cheryl and I have such a strong belief that our number one belief is that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, which makes us unstoppable. People are like, how does Cheryl and Paul do all that? How are they so amazing? Well, we really believe in this Bible verse and we live by it. We don't just say it, we do it. We also believe that all things happen for me, not to me. It's pretty powerful when people are all, you can just see on Facebook alone, all the people saying all these bad things happening to them. They're not happening to them. They're happening for them. So everything that we do, in my opinion, this is how I live my life, is a learning experience. That's the meaning I give to things. That's the belief I have. And that belief serves me extremely well in every situation because I love to learn. So I can't be in a bad situation. You could talk about, so let's just throw out a thought. So there's a thought, there's a belief, and there's emotion. So the thought, let's just say life. What is the belief that you have about life? Well, most people think it's unfair or it's hard or whatever. And then they decide, well, if it's unfair, then what is the emotion I'm going to feel about life? Oh, I'm going to feel angry. So you walk through your whole life angry because that's the meaning you're giving to life. Or building a business, that's a thought. I'm thinking about building my business today. Well, that's hard. That's the belief I have about building a business. Tell me your belief about building a business. It's hard. Well, then the emotion I decide to attach to that, and note my words, you decided to attach. It was a conscious decision you made that it's overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed and I don't do it. So we can change these. And this is what Cheryl and I do for people is we help them. First of all, we help them change their thoughts so that they're not having these negative thoughts. But if you do have a thought come up about something, what is the meaning? And then what's the emotion we're going to attach to that so that we can get better beliefs and better emotions in our life and make better decisions.
Yeah, I love that, Paul. And I love that we get to choose. That's like my favorite thing. I'm like, oh, because it makes me feel like, not only makes me feel, but it really is that we have freedom to do the things that we want to do, have the thoughts we want to have the beliefs that we want to have. Let's talk a little bit now about what we associate pain and pleasure to. That's number 6. So it's all about what we associate pain and pleasure to. So most people will do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. And I love this quote from Tony Robbins. He says, the secret of success is learning how to use pain and pleasure instead of having pain and pleasure use you. If you do that, you're in control of your life. If you don't, then life controls you. And that really hit home for me. I feel sometimes like I'm just being like whipped around in my life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So here's what we're talking about. So most people go to work in the morning because they don't want to get fired, right? Because getting fired would be more painful than waking up early and going to work, right? So I think it's super important for you to get intentional on each of your pain and pleasure lists and just know what you are associating, what you're doing. Is it to avoid pain or is it to gain pleasure? Because it is one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. That plays a major role in the decisions we make for sure. Number 7 is values. So our values play a huge role in the decisions we make. So it's interesting how Tony Robbins defines values, though. So he defines them as emotional states that we believe are most important to experience. So when you think about your values, which ones give you the strongest positive feeling when you have them? And then which ones give you like a negative feeling if you don't have that? For instance, health. Okay, so Now, when I think about health, I'm like, that's really what I want. Like, that's definitely something I want in my life. And the thought of not being healthy is like frightening to me. So that's a good value for me to have. Like, number one is health. Like, that's that we should all value our health, because if you don't, you're not going to have it. So I also value, and you can figure out what a value is by using a little test. So I blank because I value blank. So for instance, I take my supplements every day because I value health. I exercise every day because I value health. So, we want to make sure that last line there, you can put the value in there. So like growth is a huge top value of mine, contribution, love. Now people will say, well, Paul, obviously you should value family. Family's a huge value. Well, I spend time with my family because I value love and connection. So it's truly love and connection that is your value. But the action you do is spend time with your family. Same thing with money. Money, you can't value money. You're like, well, Paul, you have to value money. It's important in life. No, I make money because I value freedom. So freedom is really my value that I want, not the money. So, again, Cheryl and I help people with this and help people get clear on what are your values. Because, Cheryl, I really believe that this is super important to spend time on, because of how much it goes into every decision you make throughout the day.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And let's go to number 8, because I think this makes a huge difference too. And it's our standards. So we've been talking a lot about standards and the importance of raising them. So think about this. Your income right now is a result of your standards. It's not the industry. It's not who's president. It's not who's going to be president. It's not the economy. It's none of that. It is where you're at right now is because of the standards that you have. So we get what we tolerate, right? And you and me, all of us, we make decisions and we tolerate certain things in our lives that may be great for us and may not be so good for us. So if you want to live a better quality of life, you have to raise your standards. And I think this, it just means to make better decisions, right? Because decisions determine our destiny. But this for me, Paul, was, I don't know if it was hard to understand. I'm just not sure. I thought, well, maybe that's a little too hard for me to do. Or, whatever I'm thinking. And I'm just like, I'm not kidding, but I'm kind of like, you have to think about that, right? You have to know what your standards are, and then you have to decide if you're going to raise them. And is it easy? No, it isn't. But I really honestly believe that if you don't do that, then your life that you're living won't change, and you won't change, and you'll stay where you're at, and you will not ever achieve like a fantastic life that you want to have. And for me, it's like, being in service to other people, being, helping other people. If I didn't change some things in my life, I wasn't going to be able to do that as well as I can do it now, or as well as I'll be able to do it in the future, right? So it's just super important to make sure that you understand what your standards are. And I did a process with Paul. And so I would write down all my standards. Then I decide which ones, are really the most important to me. And then I decided how I was going to raise my standards. So I love that. And that's what we do with people and for people, is we help them do that so that they can just make those better decisions in their lives.
Yeah. I think the big message here, Cheryl, is to not settle. When you're settling, you're not raising your standards.
Right.
So like, I just settled for this person I'm with, or I'm settling for this income, or I'm settling for this kind of lifestyle, or I'm settling for this kind of health. It's just,
right.
It's just how it is, whatever. But it's not. You can raise your standards and have a better quality of life. So it's so important to do this, because our standards go into, like, I should get up at 5 a.m., but I don't. I really get up because I must get up by 8:54 because I got to be at work by a certain time, So it's about turning your shoulds into musts. That's the real key here, is that
Yep.
I should do this, but or, Cheryl and I have a lot of musts in our life. We must do this. And that is really what is raising your standards is all about.
Yeah.
Number 9 is our emotions. This is very interesting that, so we say this for number 9 for a reason, because most people make their decisions on emotions. What do you feel like doing right now?
Yeah.
I tell you, that is like, if you got a pen and paper right now, write that down and then like cross it out or make a note next to it to
rip it up, burn it.
Never, ever say that in your life. That is the worst question in all the questions there are. What do I feel like doing right now? Because you're never going
I have a lot of ideas what I feel like.
I know. and none of them are good.
Them are on my sheet.
Yeah. Or what do I feel like eating right now? That's a really bad question.
One. We can ask that tomorrow.
Yeah, I can ask that tomorrow, right? So write this down also. If you use your emotions to make your decisions, you will lose every time.
Yeah.
So we gotta be aware of, I know what I should be doing, but I'm letting my emotions in. And here's the thing, you got to get into a peak state, because if you're in a great state, you won't be making those bad decisions. Most bad decisions are made because you're in the wrong state. And what we mean by state is emotional state. So that's why we're so big on getting into peak state. When you're in peak state, you become unstoppable and you make great decisions. And I would always pick a protein shake or go do that workout or go for a walk or all these great things when I'm in a peak state. When I'm not in a peak state, that's when I'm not making great food decisions or exercise choices or business choices or relationship choices or whatever it may be. It's all about your state. So your emotions, Cheryl, are just, and again, we call that state. It plays just such a major role in decision-making in just everybody that we gotta really take that into account and master this. So again, we run it instead of it running us.
Oh my gosh. I love that, Paul. And I really who's ever thought, oh, I'm not supposed to make decisions on emotions? Are you kidding me? That happens all the time. Like, that's how else do you make a decision? Especially women, right? Because women are much more emotional than men. Right. And so I'm like, well, yeah, so of course I'm going to make my decisions on emotion. But no, we don't want to do that. Okay, so let's talk about number 10. So number 10 is all about the result that we want. And do you know the result that you want? Think about that. So that you can live your best life, right? So that you can live the life that you've always dreamed of, that you've always wanted. And you have to just think about that. Now, the goals that we set will also affect the decisions that we make, right? So we understand when we have the result that we want, we write that down. We've got the result written down. Paul and I help you do that. Which
is like a goal.
Yes, it's like a goal. That's exactly right. It's the goals that you're going to achieve. So say, for instance, I want to lose 20 pounds. But if you are still associating pleasure to eating bad foods and pain to exercise, you can see how that will never happen. Right? So you've got to get your pain and pleasure right. You've got to get the results down that you want. That was one thing for me. I never even wrote down a result I wanted. I never knew. I never even thought about it. Never even came to my mind. What do I want? I just thought, oh, well, what happens, happens. That's what I thought. So this is like we were talking about, you get to design your life. So what about one of your goals being, I want to build a successful business? Absolutely. And I think that is where it's at for a lot of us, right? But what if you have poor standards, right? If you have poor standards, there's no way that you're going to be able to, build the business and be as successful as you want to be.
Yeah. We're like a month away from the end of the year, and all these people, make New Year's resolutions, or they set goals for the next upcoming year. And actually, from the research that Cheryl and I have done, less and less people are doing that now because they fail so much at number 10 of, setting goals. Because the whole point of saying this is that they haven't mastered the other 9 things we've talked about in this recording here. You got to get all these things in line. They all have to line up. The biggest problem in people's lives is that they live in conflict. Like Cheryl just said, oh, I got this big goal. I want to lose 20 pounds, but I have all this pleasure around donuts and Cheetos, and I hate exercise. It's massive pain. You got no shot at hitting that goal then. Because, and we can go through the other 9 things too, that, it's all jumbled up and there's all this conflict. And again, it's people just are driving with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake all the time. And they're never getting anywhere. So they're just like, screw it. I'm not going to set any goals because I never achieve them anyways. But why is that? It's because they don't have these other 9 things lined up. They're not congruent. And what Cheryl and I really do for people, and why people have so much success working with us, is because we help people get all these 10 things congruent. They're lined up. There's nothing in conflict with each other. And when you do that, your whole life just becomes easier. It becomes so easy to be successful in anything, any of these 8 areas of life. It's just simple because everything's lined up, and you have the right emotions and the right goals and the right standards and the values and everything else, beliefs and everything else we talked about today. So this is I know this is a weird call to have right before Thanksgiving, because everyone's like, damn, like I never realized decision making was so difficult, or all these things that go into decision making. So we didn't mean to overwhelm you. We just want to make you aware, really, in this podcast about all the things that go into decision making, and how, like, wow, I really need to look at these different things. And again, we're available for you. Actually, Cheryl and I are making a course based on these 10 things, so that we can help you. And we're doing retreats and all kinds of things in 2025 to help you get these 10 things in line and congruent in your life.
Yeah, and that is definitely something that I'm grateful for. Just being aware of all of these different things, and just being able to have the freedom to choose how I want to live my life and the way that I want to live my life. And I just think that's so fantastic for each and every one of us. Well, you know what? It's been such a pleasure spending time with you guys today, and so much fun. Just stay committed and stay consistent, and remember that you have the power to elevate your life and the lives of those around you. And we can't wait to see you next time. Keep elevating.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you, Paul. Outstanding as always. We so appreciate you. Wow, so many key nuggets. If I were you all, you can go to Linda Making a Difference Tyler. It's also in the private Longevity Facebook group. It's in the Hair on Fire group. It's everywhere. Go get this, listen to it, send it to your friends. What a, wonderful way to, create some momentum into thriving in 2025. Let's thrive in 2025. I don't know what the motto is going to be, but that's what I just thought of just now, thrive in 2025, since it rhymes. But thank you so much. I'm going to unmute the Zoom. Please give it up for the extraordinarily awesome Cheryl Morley, the phenomenally incredible Paul Croto. Have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much.
Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you so much.
Cheryl. Oh my goodness. Y'all are so full of knowledge and information.
I know, right?
Thank you, Paul and
Cheryl. I want to be like them.
Such a blessing.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Auntie Pat. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Queen Mary, Auntie Pat.
Thanks, everyone.
Queen Mary.
Lorenzo, Coach Rod, Connie Kinman, John Harris. Thank you. Have a great
day, everyone.
Linda Loader.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you,
Happy
LT.
Thank you so much. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanksgiving, guys.
Yes, I second that.
Jean Little, thank you so much. Thank you, Harry.
Great call, ladies. Great call, great job, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Coach Rod. Thank you, John Harris. Thanks, everyone. Tia Sears, Herb and Beverly, Queen Mary, Teresa. Have a great day, everyone.
And
love
y'all. That emotion. We love you too. Have
you all too.
Back here on Friday, same time, same station.